and thank everyone for joining. This is a really near and dear topic to me. First of all, being a woman, also being an African American woman. In addition to that, having friends who represent or are members of the Asian community, and so for those of you who do not know, there were some events that took place here in Atlanta where some of our Asian brothers and sisters were targeted. Hi, Shay, thank you for coming in. Who were the target of attacks. Now we know that, as in more recent history, us African Americans, women, there's so many things we have been the subject of these types of attacks for years, and I think that um, we kind of miss that there are other individuals who fall under the category of oppressed who also experience attacks specific to them because of their race as well. And so I felt like it was very important for us to have this conversation. And this is something that I've been speaking about for a long time about just oppression in general. And helping, and I really want to get people to the point of really just understanding that oppression really is a world issue. It's not just a Black issue, it's not just a woman issue. It is something that exists in all societies. You see oppression in all societies. This is something that I've been speaking about for quite some time on other platforms before I decided to create the nonprofit We Have Us because, you know, there are so many different organizations that represent individual groups of people. And I think that those different organizations, serve their purpose, but I believe in the greater purpose, and I believe that when we satisfy the when we satisfy or when we focus on the actual issue of what oppression is, oppression in itself, that we can as a society grow instead of just a community grow. Because as a society, there are several individuals who fall under that category of oppression. And if we can, and I feel that, again, I am pro Black. I'm a Black woman. I'm also pro people as well. But I think that when we spend too much time focusing on liberating individual groups of people, that we forget that we all have to, in some way, come together as those who fall under that category of oppressed, come together so that we can repair the society, so we can repair society as a whole. So I felt that it was so necessary that we have this particular conversation about breaking hate. I am a Nigerian American. I am a citizen of Nigeria. I'm a citizen of also America. And, when I go to Nigeria, I don't see white people oppressing us. I see ourselves oppressing us. I've been in other places in the world where oppression exists, and I don't see that it's white people oppressing them. It's just oppression. That's the biggest enemy that we face. And so that's why, again, I started We Have Us because we believe in liberation through education. And we truly believe that in order to liberate anyone, you have to educate them. You have to give them the tools to rise above oppression because, again, the oppressed cannot be oppressed without the oppressor. The oppressor can oppress the oppressed without the oppressed. So it's something that we all together can heal. And why or how Real Talks comes into this. So Real Talks is a continuous segmented series. This is something that we host once every 2 weeks. We've had two already, but our model is identify, measure, and respond. So it's very important that we um, identify what may be causing these issues, measure the impact, and then come together with responses as a community. And through my organization, we focus on how do we then transcend those ideas that we've come together with, again, with these liberating types of ideas. How do we move those? Hey, Kim, how do we move that into something that is an actionable item? So we have us has already been out here in the community, laying down foundations that previous conversations, awareness from previous conversations. We are out here in the community. Check for us in Atlanta. We are out here. We are doing things for the community, and these conversations are very productive because they do not stop here. So they do not stop at a conversation. We are not here coming together as a group of people to see how philosophical we can sound. I say this every time. We're not here to see who can articulate how they feel in the most effective way. Because really, the most effective way to articulate how you feel is to get out there and act on it. So, I've brought everyone here today. No one's the leader of this conversation. I really want to make that clear. No one is the leader. I'm here. I brought this together, but I'm not the leader. I am just someone who wants to actually make a difference in the society, and I know I can't do that without the community. So I need the community. I need to hear the voice of the community so that I know, in terms of our organization, how we can respond to these things. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and do a roundtable, allow everyone to introduce themselves, let us know about them, and then we can just kick off the conversation. Okay, that's good. Good. Actually, that is perfectly fine. If you are in a position to talk, just kind of let us know who you are, and kind of yeah, just let us know who you are, and then we'll get into just the conversation in itself with again breaking hate, and how we can again identify the foundations of hate, measure the impacts of hate, and then respond with ways to combat that, in order to allow our society to progress as a whole. So this is not in any particular order. Actually, it is. Corinthia, your name is like the first picture. If you do look, if people who are on Instagram, they can probably see, but your name is the first name. So Corinthia, for love. Yeah.
Peace,
Okay.
everyone. Hi, happy Resurrection Day and happy Easter Day.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. I'm Forenzia. I grew up in Atlanta and I live in Louisiana. I'm a mother of three children, um, two, 14, and 12. And yeah, self employed, all that good stuff. Um, in order to share, I really wanted to share about how I felt about, not even just how I feel, what I see in the community about hate. Because, to be honest with you, I'm recognizing a pattern. And I feel like the community sees this pattern too. But no one recognizes, I think that we all think that we're insignificant. Can you hear me okay?
And it's a little muffled, just a little bit.
How about now?
Perfect, literally perfect.
Awesome. I'm gonna speak this way. This way, I can't hear you as well, but since I'm speaking,
Okay.
When it's time for you to speak, I'll change it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I was saying that I wanted to talk about hate in the community because I feel like there's a pattern, and I feel like we are aware of this pattern. And the problem is that we feel like the difference that we make individually is insignificant, rather than feeling like that what we do as one person can be influenced. If we're not, it can be an influence on anyone. Anyone. You can make someone who's irate and emotionally wild just with your mood and the way that you carry yourself calm down. You have no idea how, just you alone. And I'm saying all of this to say, I'm saying all this to liberate you from feeling like you're insignificant, because at the end of the day, all of us, especially our Black community, we don't know how much our children are looking at us. We don't recognize that even though they're not your kids, they're still looking at you. I was having a conversation with a woman just the other day. It was my mom. My mother doesn't agree that it is our responsibility, as if I'm 33, to influence a 22-year-old or a 25-year-old. that it's my responsibility. I picked up a young Black man that had his brand new baby in his arms. He said his baby mother had a bad episode the night before and he had to leave with the baby. I picked him up and he didn't have a car seat, and I felt some type of way. I told him, I said, I really feel some type of way about picking you up, but I also feel an obligation to get you where you're going safely, because I feel like if I see you on the news later on, understand, my young Black man, that I am taking your responsibility on as my own. I want you to understand what I'm doing right now and what your responsibility is as this child's father. He said that he left with the baby in his arms and left on public transportation and ended up where he was at. My whole point is that this young man who was listening to what I was saying at 21 years old, it was my responsibility to speak to him because his ears were open, his heart was open. My point is that you think that they don't listen. They are, a lot of these kids, a lot of us, even in our age group, we flock. But the people who don't flock, if you consider yourself someone who isn't a flocker, you need to understand that your small actions, your extra love, that extra care that you put out, that extra little bit that you give, just, it's not sucking up, it's an influence to care and to send out a little extra love that'll turn, I'm telling you, to curb the hate. Because the pattern with this hate is you get angry and then you respond, and your response is emotional. But emotion and rationality, they don't work together. So first you have to get over the pain that you're dealing with about what happened with these people, and then you need to sit down and be rational about it, because if you're not being rational about it, you'll be emotional. And hate, in so many ways, to me, hate always adds up to some sort of pain. Some sort of pain. Even if it's the pain of lack of understanding or the pain of not ever being able to add up to or whatever. You see what I'm saying? But there's a pattern with hate, and it always ends up being this circle of people choosing to get angry and responding in an angry, hateful manner. Saying, if you do this to me, I'm going to do this to you. When we can only heal the world, I'm going to take that from Michael Jackson. We can only heal the world and make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race if we decide that we're going to do something different with that pain and turn that energy into something else, like, you know, a little extra love when you go out and you talk to people, when you got to order something, when you got to pick something up, when you have to interact with someone, because you do when you go out and get gas, when you go out and get bread and milk, when you go out and get your kids, when you step out the door, you are influencing everything and everyone around you. You responding in an angry way, emotional state, usually is literally, like, say for instance, you go to a Chinese food restaurant and you see somebody who's less than intelligent, I guess for lack of better words, I'm gonna use ignorant, because ignorant means to lack knowledge or understanding. We're going to use ignorant. We have somebody in a Chinese food restaurant that says, that's why people hate y'all now, because they taking forever for their food. That type of stuff. You got to stop that stuff. You ain't her mama or nothing, but you know, if all of us sit around and watch that person be like that and don't speak up or say anything, it's literally like all of us doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God.
It's weird. It's weird because you literally not doing nothing but standing there waiting to order your food. But what if you don't say anything or show any disdain for it, that you don't think it's okay? You see what I'm saying? Now they looking at us like all them black people, because we was already being stereotyped from the beginning.
Yeah.
We just gotta stop. Like, I just feel like it's just a cycle. When somebody invests hate and you receive some of it, or you're influenced by it or affected by it, take it. But don't cycle it back into the system as what it came to you as. You be the change. You be where it adjusts, and how it goes back out into the world, it goes back out differently. Be motivated by your frustration to be different than everybody else, so that you don't have to be a part of it. You gotta, because it stops it stops once it gets to you. Once that specific hate gets to you, it stops. It stops at you, or you can walk around talking in a certain manner and being a certain negative blob that affects this in a negative way. I just feel like in order to affect our community positively, we have to be that change.
Absolutely.
The kids, all of us.
It almost feels like, for me, it almost feels like for me that the children really are the focus because that where we should, I guess, for those of us who really want to, um, influence change in some way, it seems like the children are the focus because the children are also the focus of the enemy. Because in order to keep this hate going, in order to keep it going, you have to keep it going. So that means you have to keep feeding and breeding it in your children. So it seems like that should be our focus, where we should go to combat that. Because not that I have a lack of faith, but adults are kind of stuck in their ways, and it's not that we should stop trying to, we should always try. I don't ever believe in, I'm not one of those people, I am definitely not one of those people, and anyone who knows me, I'm not one of those people who believe that the world is never going to change. I'm sorry, people who believe that, they're hurt. Honestly, they're still hurt. I do not believe that, because I like to, one thing, it's something called gratitude. I definitely have learned the value of having gratitude. No, we're not where we want to be, but we have grown. So we have gotten somewhere, because I was just talking to someone earlier, and we were talking about Martin Luther King, and Martin Luther King did not actually live long enough to see the manifestation of his work, right? However, did that mean it didn't happen? No, it didn't. It actually happened. I actually was speaking with someone who was a pillar, I guess what I would say, a pillar in our community, and they said that African Americans are always going to be underserved. It's never going to change. No, I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I refuse to believe that. I refuse to believe that, because the slaves never thought they would be free, but they are.
How is it that how do we get to always being I want to be specific, because you said African American.
Yeah.
That was one specific. Yeah. That was one specific African American. Because like if you reach out into African history, we were never.
Yeah.
We were never. Not until now. Not into the days that are like now where we ever. If you look into the history of brown skinned people, we are kings and queens, way deeper in the history, way deeper in the culture, way deeper. So like, I have to say that if you're talking about African Americans, then maybe I'll listen out. I'll hear out the opinion of the person, because initially African Americans were set up to be where they are right now, but we are doing way better than they ever wanted us to. So how will we always be anything? As long as I'm just trying to figure it out, because as far as I'm concerned, we've gone from here to titans of the sports, multi-millionaires for multiple different things. I mean, like, I think that that's changed. I don't think that that's the case anymore. Now it's just about us. It's about what we think about ourselves, isn't it? Am I tripping?
No, you're not. I love what you're saying. I want to move to Evelyn now. Again, like I said, this conversation, and I know obviously it's going to mature, but like I said, there's so many people who are fighting for freedom in a free world, fighting for the freedom to be who they are in a world that's free. So I want to move along to Evelyn. If you are in a position to speak, please feel free. If you're moving around and you want us to come back, that's fine too. But are you in a position to speak, Evelyn?
Yes, hold on for a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to sit down at the table.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, how you doing?
I guess I'm the only Asian right now on the, but I noticed your topic was about
Breaking hate. Mm-hmm.
Asian, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, everybody knows about what happened in Atlanta.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I feel like, they have the AAPI,
Mm-hmm.
you
What
know,
is that? I'm not familiar with it.
it's it's acronym American Asian American Pacific Islander.
Okay.
Did I have all this stop Asian hate?
Mm-hmm.
So I found a lot of different forums on eventbrite.com,
Mm-hmm.
since the incident happened.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of like this, where you can talk but
Yeah.
it's mostly with the Asians.
Yes.
Because they'll talk about how they're feeling, try to process what happened,
Mm-hmm.
and just discuss their personal experiences with the racism that
Mm-hmm.
they've experienced in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, I mean, I've been experiencing racism all my life. It's outright racism, like blatant, and it's also microaggressions. So it's been going on for my whole life, and I think it's because the Asians, they tend to be more quiet. They don't they don't want to make a big deal out of things. So it's like we as a race, we kind of targeted because they know that the racists out there know that they won't get that they can do something without repercussion.
Mm-hmm.
They'll just make racial slurs like ching chong chong and do the like slant eyes or whatever, and it. And sometimes at one time I was bike riding, and I'm at an intersection, and this van was trying to make a turn like a work van, and it was two middle-aged Caucasian men, and I guess I wasn't going fast enough through, and they shouted at me some cursing and calling me a gook. So gook is from Vietnam, but I'm Chinese, and I'm American-born Chinese. But to the racists, they don't see they just we're all lumped into whatever category they feel we're category of. So it's like, okay, you're having a bad day, just like that what happened in Atlanta. The police chief or whoever was at the podium saying that the killer was having a bad day. So it's like, okay, you can throw a racial slur at me because you're having a bad day, or
But you can kill someone because you're having a bad day. That's just
it's like, okay, I can tell you a little history about my
okay.
life.
Okay.
I was born here in America because my grandfather he came to the U.S. Um, during the early 1940s. So then once he got here, the World War II broke out. So he got drafted in the U.S. Army. So he served for the U.S. Army for his country. Back then, only the Chinese men could come to the U.S. So my grandmother, my dad had to stay behind in China. But then once the war was over, my grandmother and my dad was able to come to the U.S. And then they became all of them. Of course, my grandpa he became a citizen automatically because he fought for the country. He served for the U.S. Army. So then my grandmother and my dad became naturalized citizens. And my dad's time, he was just starting school. He maybe like between age 7 and 10. Um, and even back then, he experienced racism. He had to run home from school because the white kids used to chase after him, throw pebbles at him, calling him Jap. Because with the World War II, the U.S. fought against the Japs, so they saw him as an Asian kid. So even back then, I guess he didn't feel welcomed, and it's been going on for decades. Well, at least decades of my experiences. So my parents taught us, don't make a big deal. Just those people are stupid, ignorant, whatever. But it builds up, you know, when somebody throws racial slurs at you or make microaggression comments, you know, like builds up inside you where you feel like, you know, do I belong here in this country? Like, what gives them the right to say that they belong here and we don't belong here? And do I have to sit them down and say, you know, my grandpa, for, you know,
Yeah, I know.
served in the US, you know, like, it's so stupid. Like, I don't know, you know, how society, you know, America and how they, you know, it's just ugly.
You know, I have a question for you because, so I'll just say this: the company that I work for, I love the company that I work for. I wanted to say this straight. I love the company that I work for. We had a huge conversation where we talked about kind of these things. And anytime things like this happen, they are very responsive to it. They allow us time from work to get online for everyone in the company to have a conversation about these things. Number one, I think that companies need to start doing that. That's something that as companies you should do that. It should be proactive though. You should have these conversations before these types of things happen. So that because at the end of the day, a lot of these people who are doing these things are people who have jobs. Like and let's just be real. They have jobs. They work with people, and if employers would start having these types of conversations, it's just one step closer. But anyhow, there were so many things that I learned. Because honestly, like as a Black American, and this is what I love, and I thank you so much, Evelyn, for being a representative for yourself. I don't want you to feel like you're the face for your race or anything, but being a representative for yourself and your own experiences as an African American woman, honestly, until I saw what happened here in Atlanta, I never knew that, that Asians were also experiencing the same type of hate that we were. And someone in our meeting said that, yeah, we do, but we don't talk about it, you know? So this, my thing is like culturally, let's say if you all were maybe back in your native land, if you all experience, I guess, hate, I don't really know the dynamics of how it is in Asia or China or Korea or anywhere like that. If if a group of people were being discriminated against because of I have heard that there are black people in China, like black Asians, like black Chinese people. There's like a tribe of black Chinese people. If those group of people, and I'm only using that because I really don't, again, I'm really not familiar with the dynamics. If those group of people were experiencing some type of hate, how would the country respond to it? Like, how do you all respond to oppressive types of events in your native land? Because I can speak from Nigeria, this whole nobody just keep your mouth shut. It's like the government is like keep your mouth shut. So how do you all respond to those things? And do you feel like how you were, I guess, internally, I guess, culturally taught to respond to them? Do you think that's why you all have been overlooked until this situation happened?
I feel like there should be more education in schools,
Mm-hmm.
starting at elementary school level to teach kids not, you know, like to differences in race and not, you know, like what's good and what's bad, and, you know, how to handle situations, deal with people, not have all this hate.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think the hate starts in childhood with this racist people.
Mm-hmm.
They just, you know, lack of awareness and lack of empathy. I mean, we had a
Yeah.
couple of rallies here. You know, I'm in New York,
Okay.
but that was it. You know, just you know, but you know, with the COVID and all that, that just made things worse. You know, with the COVID last year,
I was calling you yesterday and answered.
that it's all, you know, the kung flu virus, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and some Asians are targeted. You know, of here. You know, just unprovoked. You know, being shoved in the street, and a lot of elderly too, being slashed on the train, the subway.
Well,
So it's like sometimes you're afraid to say anything because if you say something to somebody, they might just lash out on you because you don't know what is going on in their mind.
mm-hmm.
Like, what kind of hatred they have for a certain race.
Yeah.
It's like you don't even want, you want to just like inch away from people. Just, you know, keep yourself at a safe distance.
Yeah, it seems to be just a constant thing, and you know, it's almost like the world that is not being subjected to the hate wants people to stop talking about it, you know? Like, stop talking about it, you know? Because maybe it makes people feel uncomfortable, those groups of people who are not directly subjected to it. But I think in every way, except for men, and I'm gonna go to say this, and you know, this is just my perspective. It seems like white men maybe suffer the less. They maybe they don't have the same experience at all. Even a white woman has hate. I mean, you know, it suffers hate just for being a woman. You know, so it or oppression or just for being a woman in general. You're going to be subjected to some level of hate or oppression or discriminatory behavior in some way or somehow. And you know, I feel that just as a whole, it's dismissed. Just as a whole, it's dismissed. I think now things are getting a little bit, you know, people are more open and speaking about these things and refusing to stay quiet. And I think ultimately that's what it is. Fear is what keeps people quiet. And I think that once you realize you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I would rather, you know, go out with a voice than always be silent. And I'm not,
Yeah.
and I do believe that there is a way to have your voice heard without retaliating with the same level of violence. You know what I'm saying? Because I think this is why hate is able to continue to survive because those who are in fear are silent. And you have to get to a place where you're not allowing your fear to silence you. Fear should, I mean, you can be fearful, but don't let it silence you. Don't let fear be so powerful that it silences your voice. Yes, it may mean that people may not make it through it, but you have to be willing to not make it through. That's just how I feel about it because if you stay quiet, you will never be liberated. So I want to go ahead and give Banks an opportunity. I know Banks is very, very passionate. He has strong opinions. I know him. He has strong opinions about all things. Again, I'm liking that we have a mixed crowd, men, women, representatives, and I want to eventually get to just in general, like how African Americans feel discriminated against from Asians too. Because when we, you know, I'm gonna say when we go to the hair salon, the beauty supply store, we get followed around like we're trying to steal, you know, you're trying to steal something. We're like, well, you guys came to us. I mean, it's like everyone comes into our community, and then it's just like do whatever we told you to do. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. Like, I definitely want to have that conversation because I really want to have a dialogue with you about that. Just so, I mean, I know you go into these different meetings, but I think it's also important for Asian Americans to understand how we feel mistreated by Asian Americans too. And even if I really wish that we could have a Caucasian individual to come in here because I know that there are things that maybe as a whole, as a people, or whatever the case may be, or things that you see on TV may be kind of the fuel behind the hate, you know. But we'll talk about those things. But Banks, please, I would love.
He's at work. He said he's just listening because.
Okay, I got you. Benny, are you guys want to talk? Are you guys talking?
Sure. I was just listening to what everyone was saying, and I think that there's everyone hears the Martin Luther King speech. I have a dream. I have a dream. I have a dream. If you notice, they push that into your ears a lot of times because they don't want you to hear the drum major mentality. See, the drum major mentality says that I have to be on top. I'm the best. I'm number one. When we got here as a people, no matter how and which way that we got here, it was never an I, it was we. That's something that you will find out. And if we said anything about an I, it was I and I. So it was a we mentality. What we have allowed to spark off within our communities is that the breaking down process to where that everyone has to be looked at above the other. See, I'm not above you. You are a woman, but you are still other part of me. You're the other side of me. You are my rib. So being that you are my rib, you protect the vital most parts of me. I'm not going to go to Mr. Banks and say to him, "Oh, you know what, man? I'm having a bad day and everything's getting crazy." You want to know what he's going to tell me? Man up. But when I come to you, what do? You take it, you transform it, and then you give it back to me as strength. So now when I walk out that door, I can punch a hurricane, body slam a tidal wave. You know what I'm saying? And so with that being said, I know I kind of got a little bit off topic, but it all goes back to that drum major mentality. And see, so for them, they feel that, first of all, if I can put you down, that puts me up. So now they're going to look for anyone that they can say that they're better than. It's the same reason why people still feel with the racism, but you'll get those who are in the wealthy class that'll take a Jesse Jackson into their door. They won't take a white trailer park trash though, but they will take Jesse Jackson. You get what I'm saying? And then you got the trailer park trash who's over here who now feels that he's better than everybody else. And see, and this is where the problem comes in. This is where the dilemma comes in. The dilemma comes in is because that, first of all, when one person walks past you, and when they walk past you, they hit you on hit you on your arm. Oh, excuse me. Next person comes through, hits you on your arm. Oh, excuse me. Next person, next person, next person. So now when the other person comes to walk past, and they may have just ready to accidentally bump you, you've now jumped off on them. So if you want to know how to fight hatred, you want to know how to fight a lot of these different things, is be the best you that you can be. I ain't say to be quiet, not by a far stretch of the word, but there is ways to intelligently break someone down without breaking them down. You catch my drift? Like I can say certain things to you that'll make you start to think about what you said or what you just did. It's on you. See, once I begin to know who I am, truly am, the stock that I come from, and the fact that every time that you, Evelyn, walk out the door, you walk out the door, we have us. You walk out the door, Mr. Banks. You all represent those who have come before you. You are everything that they fought for, that they bled for, that they shed tears for. Take that with you when you walk out and you meet that. Not to say to go ahead and jump back at them. You don't have to. But I'm pretty sure that everybody that's here in this conversation right now has different ways of attacking things without having to be physical with it. Don't fit the roles is all I'm saying. Don't be the angry black woman. Don't be the angry whatever person. Don't be that person for them. You go outside of that person. I learned it for myself today. I reacted in a way that was not becoming of the person that I am. So where that I felt bad about it. So I'm only saying that at the end of the day, you only hurt yourself when you go to react to them like that, because they're going to be who they're going to be. But once I know who you are, I'm cool with it now. All right, I got you. So I apologize if I took too much time on that one.
No. You didn't take much time. And, I'm listening. Because again, like, I'm really wanting to, like, really truly understand, like, the basis of hate and what I've heard consistently in everyone's expression of kind of their positioning in life is that it just really seems that fear and unforgiveness is like really the basis of hate. Fear that you mentioned something that was just so, I guess, profound and in a heightened idea, because when you think about it, it is not. I don't even necessarily. Is it fear, or is it the desire to be more powerful than the next person? Because it seems that, let me give you an example. I was watching the Billie Holiday movie. It just came out. I think it's on Netflix. I'm watching the Billie Holiday movie, and the man, the guy, I guess he works for the FBI or whatever the case may be. He had this hate for this lady. I mean, he did everything. Hulu. Oh yeah, thank you, Hulu. He had this hate for this lady. I mean, I just was like, he just the hate, it's like he just wanted. It was actually unreal. Like I just can't believe that a person can develop this level of hate to want to set a person up and just do everything you can in your power as a human to destroy the life of someone. How much energy does it take to hate? Really, if the people who have all this hate in their heart, if they could just let it go and realize how much peace they're having in their life, because I can only imagine the type of energy that it takes to hate somebody so much to where when you see them, the insides of you boil. Like, how? Where does that come from? It's not of this world. You know me. I'm a spiritual person, and so I consider that to be an adversary. You know, and some people call it a minister of spirit. Some people call it the devil. Whatever the case may be. Because as humans, that is not our nature to hate. Period. It's not human nature. No matter what people tell you, human nature is not to hate. It is not to hate.
But it is
human nature is not
pain.
It comes from pain and something that's outside of you depositing into you constantly, little droplings. It's TV. It's when you're looking at TV and the only thing you see is a black person, or if you're looking at TV, you're seeing Chinese people. You're thinking that a Chinese person is taking your job, or you're looking at TV and you think, oh, Corona came from China, so Asians are the reason why we're all here. You know, this is what I'm talking about. The media has literally created this society. And then who created media is the next question then. Who created media? Media has created the society we live in. Absolutely. And that's where it came from. And I stand by it. Because let me tell you, in the slave days, they still had media. They had news. They had newspapers. Media has been a constant influence on society, and we have just reciprocated it through our actions.
Well, if you take a look at it like this, all right, so here's another way to look at it, all right? So now, if I can get you to fight with me about that, you want, no, I'm ready when you are. If I can get you, just one second, if I can get you to go ahead and fight with me over you having women's rights, if I can get you to fight over me about that, you're black, I'm white, that I'm this, that. And let me get out of the black and white because it's not black and white. It is melanated and non-melanated. Everyone knows what melanin is, I'm pretty sure. All right, so with that being said, those who really benefit from this is not the media, but the wealthy. The media is something that is the tool that is used by the media to control the masses, to get them to argue amongst each other, so you never break the barrier. If I don't get you to break that barrier, I'm good. I'm good. So I'm gonna call it what? I'm gonna call it the Kung Flu. I'm gonna call it this because see, the factor is America owes China a whole heck of a lot of money. They practically own America. So with that being said is, when it comes to it, as a child, yeah, they don't know hate, but it's taught inside the home. And so what they use through the media is to give them a false sense of ownership. And then, according to the Constitution, I'm not, what, an eighth of a person, a third of a person? That's all I am, three-fifths of a person. Also, with that being said, anytime that I'm incarcerated, I am now forfeit to the No Slave Act. Most people don't know that part either. So now, when I don't look at a person,
Can you enlighten us on what the No Slave Act is?
Okay. According, I can't even see what it's saying. According to,
Oh God. Hold on, let me double check on this. Put that up again, Nikhil.
Huh?
Johnny.
Yeah,
I
like
was
seven.
saying, I was saying 3/5. That's 60% of a human. We're considered 60% of a human. That's 3/5. That's all.
Wow.
right.
Wow.
And he's definitely right on that. And also according with the Bill of Rights and with everything that went down with that, it said that in time of incarcerations that the No Slave Act is now null and void whenever that we are incarcerated, which is the reason why they work at slave wages anyway. And so with this being said, but that also goes on to what are you representing today when you go outside those doors? Are you promoting what they're saying? Because see, the media has tainted to make us, now you know me, I'm one that talks about us, period. And I'm saying all those of us who say that, hey, we want it better, we want the cycle of hate to break, are we setting for something that's breaking the cycle? Like for instance, is Nicki Minaj showing you how to dress, or is or for me as a guy, I'm supposed to be living like a king, but why am I sitting there like walking around like a pauper? You know what I mean? Because I'm not only going to talk about women, I'm going to talk about all of us. You get what I'm saying? And so we all have to look at what are we representing to the table, because they can always put on the news. The news ain't going to show the good that we do. So show the bad that we do. That's how they make their money. Sex lives, videotapes. Look at the Kardashian. Kim got all the way up to where she's at because she, what? The whole Ray J thing. We got to stop getting out of that cooning stage. You want to coon and suckle and jive for people. Stop that.
Even promoting it, like for me, these things won't be on TV if people weren't watching it. Or is it that people are watching it because it's on TV? It's like, what is it? Like it really makes you question everything, honestly and truthfully. Like, is it that people watch this because these are the only things TV shows, or has media tried to put things that were positive out there and didn't get a positive response back? Because with media, it seems like whatever it is has to equate to money. Like everything has to equate to, is this profitable? But I think that if all there was on TV was things that were positive, don't you think that we would adjust to that? Like, do you all think that we would adjust to the positivity on TV if everything that we saw had some level of positivity on it? If someone chooses to be less than that, it was just simply within them to be less than that. I feel like media has a huge responsibility to change this. Honestly, I mean, even as Evelyn was saying, the guy, the sheriff, his response to what happened in Atlanta was he was having a bad day. Like, that shouldn't be what is a response on national TV. That should not be how you respond to that type of questioning. He was having a bad day. So now what message are you actually implanting? And since then, guess what? We've already had 2 more people have a bad day. It was was that guy having a bad day when he went up and when he went to Washington D.C. So now that statement alone was just so detrimental, and I feel like it just set society back so much, because now we can write off this behavior as having a bad day. And since then, how many attacks, even ones that they may not even been shown, has been the result of a bad day? This guy did that, went to the Capitol building because he lost his job. Basically, he was having a bad day. So now how many other people are going to respond in that manner? That is so irresponsible. And really, they should have blessed him out when he said that. I know they couldn't do it fast enough, but I mean, like, how irresponsible is that? As you are having a position, how irresponsible is it for you to chalk it up to that? Now you want to have we live in a world where the aggressor is, we always make excuses for the person who did wrong. We forget about the victim. Bye. You know, like what about the victims? What about the people who are the who suffer from this? It's just it really bothers me when when it just bothers me. It bothers me because those individuals didn't deserve that, and none of the individuals who have been the victim of these types of attacks deserve it. I mean, and it's not okay that we get to write the behavior off, that we constantly write the behavior off, that we give people who go who shoot churches up, and we give them a hamburger. What was it? A hamburger that they gave them? Burger King. You know, like give them a choice. Oh, you want a cigarette? Why do these people, but a person who was non-aggressive, gets a knee to his neck and never gets it released. He dies on the ground. He gets a knee to the neck with arms behind his back. He's not resisting, but this individual gets death. You know, the hate runs so deep, it's almost like, are people aware of their hate? Like, is do people actually in those moments know that their behavior is hateful behavior? It almost makes you want to think, like, even the people who respond, even your response, like, what do you think about that? Like, do you actually sit down and think about, is this like, would I treat someone who was like me like this? You know, if this person looked like me, would I do this to this person? And I just want to be honest, you know, I feel like my heart goes out to the guy who was attacked at in Washington, or was it, we'll just say the Capitol. Okay. Who was attacked at the Capitol. But you know, I think I would say this, and you know, I'm gonna say this. You know, I'm just gonna say it. I feel like in some way hate played a role, or bias played a role in that to be in that happening, or for that to be allowed to happen. Because if it was a black face or a Chinese face, the man would have been he would have been taken out. He would have been taken out before he could even get there. And we have to understand that, like, even these types of attacks, I guarantee you, if it was a different face who went up there, it would that wouldn't have happened, because they they would have already been on guard. This is what I'm talking about, bias. How bias even gets people killed. How this is what people need to say. Your bias will get you killed as well, because if you respond to everyone in the same manner, I just really do not believe that would have happened. I have something strong inside of me that if those individuals who were protecting did not have some level of bias, they would have handled that situation without it getting to the level that it got to. Just have to say that. You know?
That's a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a fact.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just say, I would just like to say real quick, talking about a lot here. In terms of hate, the thing with hate is, hate can come from deep-rooted insecurities. Hate can come from your personal experiences, right? I agree wholeheartedly that hate is something that is handed down from generation to generation. It's taught, right? We've had this conversation on a plethora of occasions. When we are born pure. Any of the impurities that we may have are impure thoughts. It's because those thoughts were instilled in us by another source, right? Now, the thing is, I know a lot of people say, you know, well, when it comes to hate, you have to fight hate with love. And I get that, but again, that I'm not that type. Because so the simple fact, if you're getting bullied, if someone is bullying you, the only way to prevent that bully from beating your behind every daggone day is to what? Beat that bully's behind. When you beat that bully's behind, that bully is going to leave you alone. It is a simple analogy, but it is so it is so prevalent today, because one thing that I feel we as more melanated people, we have a tendency to be more forgiving. We have a tendency to let certain things go. You know, I've seen a couple of videos where I've seen people who look like me get spit on by other cultures, other races. They do nothing. I've seen a video where you had a white woman smack this black mother's daughter at the daggone park, and the black mother did absolutely nothing. Yet, if one of us would have did that, there would have been drama, there would have been an issue, right? Also, the media. I like to call the media the most effective devil in America. That's my acronym for the media. Most effective devil in America. Fact of the matter is, the media has the power to change narratives. The media has the power to change one's thoughts, right? And for every section for every segment of the population that thinks a certain way, there's a media avenue for you to make your thoughts validated. For example, if you are a white supremacist, if you are a racist, I'm pretty sure you're a huge fan of Fox News. Pretty sure. Not saying that all of you are racist, but I'm pretty sure Fox News is a place for you. If you're more of a liberal, left-leaning, you may look at CNN, you may look at MSNBC, et cetera, et cetera. But the media does play a huge role in adding fuel to this racial fire that is supposed to be being fanned out, because we're in 2021. But that's not the case. So for us, we need to get our own homes in order. Yeah. And in terms of the oppressors, they need to talk to their other oppressors, and they need to fix their side of the fence. In my opinion, it is not up to me as a Black man, or you as a Black woman, or even you, Miss Evelyn, as an Asian woman, to sit up here and, how can I say this? It's not our job to end the racism. Yeah. No, we're the victims. Yeah. We didn't create this mess. One more, real quick before I go back to listening, right? I had this conversation with some white friends of mine. They was like, well, what can we do? What can we do? And I was like, look, I'm gonna be real with you. You can sit up here and put Black Lives Matter posts on your social media account. I don't care. You can sit up here, have your intents. I don't care. If you really want to be down for the cause, you need to talk to your people. You need to talk to the racists in your damn family. Forgive my language. You need to talk to the racists in your family. Then you need to then you need to distance yourselves from those people, your friends, your family, bosses. I don't care, right? As long as you allow for racist things to happen, you are part of the problem. You dig? There are things that we have to do, that we need to take care of mentally, physically, spiritually, that we have to heal from, etc. So do the other group. Because guess what? They must feel some kind of way because they hate us so much. They must feel a certain way because they hate Evelyn so much, and people who look like Evelyn so much. Why? Why? So we need to improve as a people. If as a whole, Black, white, whatever, we need to improve as a whole. We need to heal as a whole. Once we're able to do that, there can be some peace. There can be some quote unquote equality. There can be some some level of serenity amongst us as human beings, because we all have to live with each other on this planet. We all got to deal with each other on this planet. You dig? So we need to fix our own stuff, fix our insides, our minds, and everything else. And I'm done, because I'm at work.
Said was, oh my gosh, and I don't know if I ever thought about that. I don't think I thought about that. Like what you said was so real. It's not our job. It's actually not our job to stop racism. Our only job is to liberate the oppressed, and that is giving people the education and the tools that they need to improve in in a society where the system is kind of holding you down. But in terms of like just hate and racism, it's not our job. It's really not because we don't have the power. The power, like you said, is in those. So someone, I asked in our meeting at my job, like, what can we do as an organization? We have us. Because I do want people to understand that we have us. We do obviously because I'm black. That that's where our melanated sisters that our organization we're really here to help impoverished communities. It doesn't matter any impoverished community as well as well women of all color. But I really want our organization to support the Asian community. I did not call this organization. It's not Black have us. It's we have us. It's we have us. So I ask, what can we do as an organization to support the Asian community and helping them through this and continuing through this because just like Barizia said, I think that we get to a point where it's like it's a trend, like we lose momentum. We forget that this is not just a after we put up the sign stop Asian hate. What are we gonna do after that? How long are we gonna keep those signs up before we go back to letting people just like you said, say racial slurs to you out of the window? And so I always want to know what can we do now. What's something that someone gave me that I think is so valuable? I'm actually going to share it in this chat. It's called stepupprogram.org. It's a who's this here, and anyone who's looking at it, you're probably not going to see it, but I'll share it on Instagram. I'll share it on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube as well. I'm going to share this, but this is actually quite powerful. It's called Step Up Program. It's a responder training. Like basically, if you see something, how do you bystander training? Right. And there's a lot of groups that are offering these things now. I think that employers should make this mandatory. I think that just in your family, if you have an organization, I have an organization, everyone who's in our organization will definitely be required to take a bystander training. You will have to provide a certificate. Any volunteer who wants to volunteer with We Have Us, you must take some level of bystander training because it's very important. Bystander training will teach you how do you respond when you're in a position where you're seeing someone beating up an Asian person or beating up a Black person or beating up a woman. Because oftentimes, even with the George Floyd, I've been watching this case. It's been very hard to watch, so I haven't been consistently watching the case online. But all of those individuals whose lives, who were right there, how their lives have been permanently affected. The one girl who actually recorded the video, I just felt my heart went out to her. And, I just want to say to her that it's not your fault. That girl standing there and recording that in that particular situation, has she not done that? Hate for all people, because I like to think I'm not comparing George Floyd to Yeshua or anything like that, but what I am saying about George Floyd is that his death exposed a lot of things. And it not only exposed what happens in our community, it also exposed what happened in the Asian community, because what happened to him means that women are now stepping up and talking about their experiences. And even Asian Americans who we know are in general silent about things, just as Evelyn has confirmed, silent about things where honestly I'm proud of them. I am so proud of Asian Americans right now because I can only imagine the years and years and years and years and years and years. We already know what happened in 1882, the war. But the years and years of being silent and having enough courage to get out here and say something, maybe even against maybe your cultural tradition, say and talk about what's happening to you guys. I'm just so proud of the world for really just coming out and saying, you know what? I'm not going to sit back and let it happen anymore. No. Yes, I know that culturally we're supposed to stay quiet. Even women, I know that we're supposed to stay quiet because we live in a male-dominated society. No, everyone. Okay, everyone is standing up and letting their voice be heard. But it's like these bystander training programs I think are very necessary so that when we see these types of things happening, we know how to properly respond. Those individuals did not know how to respond to that situation, because they were fearful that something was going to happen to them. Even me, I often contemplate, like, if I were to see something like this happening, how would I respond? Like, would I go move? Like, how would I respond? And I know me, I probably would have ended up in probably with George Floyd because I sometimes I can be a little impulsive when I see like things like that happening. And as a community advocate, I often put myself in a position where maybe my life may be in jeopardy because I live a good life and I value people, and sometimes I may put myself in harm's way to help people. But I have the creator behind me, and so and I'm also spiritually led, so I don't walk anywhere without him. And I'm not fearful of life ending or whatever the case may be. I'm not fearful of that or anything like that. But I do oftentimes think that if I had been there, what I would have pushed them off then. I'm just gonna be honest. I would have just probably just gone to jail and maybe got thrown to the ground, just like the protesters and things like that. And but I probably would have, but at least the guy would have been alive. And I think that where I think bystander training may be effective is that people have to do something because I'm thinking about the people who were marching, right? After the first day of marches, people had already heard that people were getting beat up, people were getting thrown to the ground, people were getting shot by rubber bullets. Why is it in that moment people were willing to risk their lives? We have to get like that cannot be the only moment that we're willing to risk our lives when we're marching. Like, I'm not telling anybody to go out there and do anything crazy, but if you see somebody doing something that is not right, why do you like how the human psyche? I don't know. Maybe it's just fight or flight instinct, but you willingly go to a place where there's a possibility that you may get shot by a rubber bullet for marching. But you see a person being attacked by a white person or by a police officer or by even a black person and or a woman getting attacked by a man or whatever, and you don't step in then. What is the difference? Like, we have to be more conscious about our response to things that we know aren't right, because it shouldn't be when we're marching that you're willing to risk your life. It shouldn't be that when you're marching, you're identifying that this is wrong. It is not those individuals' fault who are watching what happened to George Floyd. So this isn't to say anything about them. This is more so to go forward. I'm a strong believer in the past are learning lessons. It's not something for us to feel. It's not for even a racist person. Honestly, if you were racist yesterday, and I've heard a video of you talking about, saying a whole bunch of racial slurs, but there's evidence and proof in your behavior that you're not racist today. I'm not going to condemn you for that. And that's another thing with the world. When we do have to get past people's past. When a person has clearly shown, like, why are we marching? We're marching because we want people to change. I have heard people in the Asian community. I have a friend, one of my closest friends is Asian, but in the Asian community and in our communities and Mexican communities, Hispanic communities, because we have a lot of Hispanics here in Atlanta, and we're very close to them. And sometimes we say, "Oh, whatever, we don't want them marching with us." But wait, hold on, I'm trying to understand this. I remember also one time we were talking about George Floyd, and I have an Asian friend, I love her, June, and she was thinking about how she was talking to her group of Asian friends about what was happening in George Floyd, and she was just explaining to them, because she said they didn't really know what was going on, they just saw what was happening, and then a black guy got upset and was like, "Oh, whatever, like, why is she here talking?" And it's like, wait a minute now, hold on. Isn't that the reason why we're marching, so that people can join and support us? So like when someone is trying to support the movement, why are we rejecting people who are trying to support the movement? Like, it's what is it? What do you want? So we need to be more receptive to people who are changing. I don't give a dang if a person, I'm going to make this clear. If you was racist in your past, I don't care. If you're not racist now, that means you learn. We have to understand that people have a right to learn. People are always condemning people for their past, and that's why people just decide to stay stuck in their past. People decide to get stuck in who they were because it was like, damn, again, I said it again, damn if I do, damn if I don't. So we have to get to a point of also acceptance and forgiveness as individuals who exist in communities who have been constantly oppressed. We have to accept help. Know that need help, and you have to know the difference with the balance too, because there's a balance between someone helping you and a person taking control. So you don't just let someone take control. I don't expect the Asian community to just let a black person come in there and rise up and be the top of their, the top of their organization. We maybe we can join. We want to help y'all, but we don't want to come in here and rise up and be the leader of your organization. No, what it is it's about partnership. It's about community. It's just about community. That I believe that our Creator created us all differently. I read a lot, whatever the case may be. One of the books that I really, really like to read was the Book of Enoch, and it talks about, and this is my own spiritual belief system, this is not anyone else. I believe in Yahshua. Some people call him Jesus. I believe in Yahweh. Some people call him God. I don't care I am not one to condemn what anyone believes or anything like that. But I will say that in the Book of Enoch, he talks about when he created all the different people. And I know other different religions have different ideas of creation. So whoever you believe the creator was, why do you think a creator will create different people of all different colors, of all different races? What do you think even if you believe the universe is busted out into something, why do you think that a universe would just bust out into all of these different types of people? Because it was to beautify this earth. It is to add dynamics to this earth. There are things that I love about Mexican people. They have really good food. I love their culture. I mean, I'm just being honest. Mexican food is probably my favorite food. Okay, so I love tacos. And this is just coming from my heart. There's black people. We make good soul food. Chinese people. They look. I'm gonna tell you this. They got the best flight. Okay, so there are so many different things that we could highlight about our cultures that it shouldn't be what separates us. It should be what brings us together. Like there's so much culture and so even traditions. I mean, we have to start embracing these differences, not let the differences, again, the master of confusion. We need to embrace these things. Okay, white people, they're good at a lot of things. But so we have to start then identifying the beauties in our different cultures and really have more open conversations. Because sometimes when we get into these conversations, people are like walking on eggshells. Oh, do I have to say Caucasian? Do I have to say white? We we gotta get past that. I mean, honestly, if we don't have the conversation openly about the differences, then we won't know how to respect each other. Honestly, because I even in our LGBTQ plus community, I was having a conversation with the LGBTQ plus community. I didn't know you have to say the plus. I said it wrong first. So I said it wrong first. So now I don't say it wrong again. We have to have conversations. We have to stop being so worried about like even white people, they struggle. They don't even know what to say. They're like walking on eggshells talking to black people like, hey, am I supposed to say black? Am I supposed to say African American? What am I supposed to say? Really just say whatever you've been saying and just let us correct you. That's it. Like, just say whatever you've been saying, whoever you with at home, say however you've been saying it. And then if someone is offended, they may tell you how you may want to be addressed. And honestly, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Now with us, our melanated people, even I have a hard time because I don't know what to call us. Because if I say black, somebody be like, "Oh no, that you black." Then if I say African American, they'll be like, "I'm not African." And then if I say melanated, people don't know what melanated is. So I find it. I'm not gonna lie. I find it a little hard to figure out how I'm even supposed to what I'm supposed to say, even with Chinese people and even Mexican, like you don't know if supposed to say Mexican or supposed to say Spanish. I'm just gonna make it my business to just say whatever I've been saying. I'm be honest with you. So if I'm being offensive, I would love for someone to just correct me. I'm just gonna say what I've been saying. When I'm talking about Asian people, I know personally Chinese people. I know personally Korean people. And I know personally Indian people. I really don't even know anything else. So if I say something, I'm just gonna say something, and then I just would like for people to correct me. Like if I say, if just say like, look, that's not what we like to be called, or that's not who I am. I'm actually. You said something about Pacific Islander. Now, what is Pacific Islander, Evelyn?
Hawaiians,
Okay.
uh, Polynesia, I think.
Okay. So yeah, so I bet you they would be offended if somebody calls them something else. So that's another thing. When we're actually coming to a table to grow, I think that that's the time for us to remove our emotional responses to names, because that the people who are trying to have the conversation, it means that they're obviously there to become better. And to not be ignorant. People look at the word ignorant and they look at it as an offensive. I don't care if someone calls me ignorant, because in a specific category, I may be ignorant about it. This goes to ego. So when you have ego, you can't grow. I'm never that person. I'm always a person. I love growth. I love where I came from. I have come so far. I have said things. There was a point in my life, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I'm going to be honest, where I supported Donald Trump because I didn't know. I really didn't know all the intricacies, and I knew that the Republican Party was originally started by African Americans, and it wasn't really until recently that I started seeing certain things. And I guess I supported him because he kept talking about the fake news, and that was something that I really wholeheartedly believed in. How media has controlled narratives, and so maybe I support that idea. But it was when I started understanding underlining things that my perspective changed, and that came through conversation. That didn't come from me just sitting here keeping things to myself. So we do need to continue to have open conversations and talk about things so we can have a clear understanding. Because if your only news comes from the news, where are you gonna go? You know? So we have to get more of our news from each other, because we're the one who lives in these communities. We should have more of these community conversations. You live in New York. I don't know what the heck is going on in New York. So we should have these conversations. Zoom is free. Our organization has a Zoom thing. Zoom is free. Everybody should be here having these different conversations with people all over the world and finding news that way. Honestly and truthfully, why do you have to turn on the news to find out news? You can get on the news. We can get on these conversations, and everyone can tell me what's happening in New York around her. And then broadcast them so that people can watch them and say, "Oh wow, this was now that's good. Oh, so that's what's really going on in New York. All right. Oh, this is what's really happening. This is what you call real news. Real news is real people, real conversations, and that's why we have real talks a lot." Yeah, Ruth, thank you so much for joining. I just want to give you an opportunity to share your perspective or whatever with on this topic, breaking hate. I am so happy with what I've learned so far. I will tell you, based on what I've heard so far, I am going to, because I always believe in creating actionable behaviors after these conversations. I'm not just coming over here just having these conversations so we can chop it up. Like I really want to do whatever is possible to influence something greater in this world. And so I will tell you this, that our next initiative starting, it depends on how long it takes me, because right now I'm doing all the marketing my own. So it depends on how soon I can spin this up between today and tomorrow. But I am going to start a campaign. It was actually recommended by my manager for the company that I work with. I love her. I truly, from my heart, love her. I thank Yahweh so much for putting me in a place around people who love. I'm a strong believer in law of attraction. The energy you put out is what's going to constantly be around you. And I've been blessed to constantly have great people around me. And my manager gave me this wonderful idea. She's like, we always have these challenges, like these crazy mean challenges. You know, there's a challenge. I'm not even going to talk about it, but there's a challenge where you actually have to cause physical harm to someone. We have all of these crazy challenges. So why don't we actually have a challenge, a your love challenge, where if you see a person from an oppressed group of people, and again, if you see a woman, say, you know what, your love. That should be our challenge. We should have more positive challenges, and I challenge different organizations, not just we have us to come up with your own positive challenge. Like for us, it's gonna be your love challenge. So you take out your phone. Everybody lives on their phone anyway, right? So you walking, you walking down the street. You see a black brother, you see a Chinese person, you see a Mexican person, whatever. You say, you know what, your love. Like your love, like that's real. Like even because eventually, if you say something enough, you're gonna start to believe it. Even if you're just doing it for social media in the beginning, it's still doing it. At some point, repetition, that's exactly how we became programmed to hate, watching things and not being conscious to it. So you're actually reprogramming your mind every time you take out your phone and you see a person who may be coming from an underrepresented group of people, and you just bring out your phone and you just say your love. You're loved. You're loved. That is something that I truly believe if we spread this around the world, if you just everybody you see, yeah, Corona, you can't hug, you can't touch each other because my manager, she was like, give everybody a hug. I was like, well, maybe we can't give people hugs because of Corona, but you can say something nice. You can say something like your love. You can say something like, hey Alicia, hey Yaru, thank you guys for joining. Um, you can say something to your neighbor. You can say, I hope you have a great day. I hope you accomplish all that you want to accomplish in this day. Everything is gonna be okay. Even if you walk, I mean, in the United States alone, over 500,000 people have died from corona. Not to mention heart disease, which is the number one killer of America. Not to mention car accidents. So how many people have been wiped out since 2020? How many people are suffering from mental illness as a result of this? How many people were forced into their home during Corona to face their demons that they've been struggling with for years? How many people are going through things that they never faced until being forced to face it through Corona? So how about we go walk around those people, that guy who ran over that man and ran over that police officer? He said he was hearing voices in his head that told him to go do that. So hey, he was hearing voices in his head. What would have happened if at least two people had told that man everything is gonna be okay? If two people had just those simple words, everything is gonna be okay. We're here for you. I'm here for you. How about that man who came and shot up those Chinese people or I don't know if they were Korean or Chinese, did that here in Atlanta? If somebody had, even though he may have had hate in his heart, it may have been the difference between him picking up that gun and thinking about it and picking up the gun and going to get help. If enough people who were around would have just told him, your love, oh, I care about you. It's not enough people who hear, I care about you. It's not enough people who hear, I love you. There are over 800,000 nonprofits in the United States. Why are we still here? Come on. I got a nonprofit. I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to be like the other nonprofits. Our nonprofit is not going to be like this. There's over 800,000 registered nonprofits in the United States. Why are we still fighting hate? Why? Why is hate still something that we're fighting if there's over 800,000 nonprofits? I'm going to call it out because they're not doing their jobs either. Period. They're not doing their jobs. They're not doing their jobs. You know what? We haven't had not a single money in donation, but we have had a lot of people provide resources. Resources are just as valuable as money. So the thing about it is they're not doing their jobs, they're just taking money. And if you're not a nonprofit who's doing that, then you know what? Then get up and talk about what you're doing. Because there shouldn't be a reason that there's 800,000 nonprofits in the United States when we're still fighting hate. I don't even know how many churches, are in the United States and we're still fighting hate. How many love centers are in the United States and we're still fighting hate? Something has to change. Something has to change. There's something that needs to change. Yes, Yellow.
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
Okay.
My name is Yaru. Good friend of hers. Might have seen me before. I was here last week. Just to go over some things. I want to say I'm a man that listens and I'm very, very attentive to anything that goes on around me. I remember there was a movie called Remember the Titans. It was with Denzel Washington. And it was one of the first movies that had me think about everything that you're saying now. And it's relevant because very significant because when they sat these boys down in the locker room, and this is at the height of, you know what I mean, of segregation and different things like that, they didn't like each other at first. You know, put them in the same room, did not like each other, But after a little bit of time, they sat down and they said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "What's wrong with me? Here's what's wrong with me." And then they say, "Well, what's wrong with you?" And he's like, "This is what's wrong with me." "Oh, how do you guys, what would you like to be called?" "Well, I'm a Negro, I'm a this and that." "Or what would you like to be called?" "Oh, I'm this and that." Okay. And they started breaking down their differences. So now it's very insignificant because there needs to be a time where I always thought about this as a plan, as you said, challenge was funny how you said that, because I always had a plan to do a break the challenge, I break the barrier challenge, a BB challenge. So like to go and try to befriend someone of another culture and go out with them, take them out to eat and sit down and literally just. So tell me about your culture, because maybe you have a different perspective about me. You know what I mean? Because if all those who've been in college, we've been around so many different type of cultures that wherever you came from, it kind of wiped off whatever type of thought process that was negative towards anyone else of any other culture. It kind of erased because you was mixed in and you was able to see people for who they were. I'm a firm believer in knowing that, I'm not even a believer, I'm a firm person knowing that once you leave a toxic environment, you have no choice but to be you and be who you are. I remember leaving, I'm from Pittsburgh, I moved down to Georgia. And the way I was raised and the way I came up and where I was living in Pittsburgh was poverty stricken. So when I went down to Georgia, I seen a whole nother perspective of life. I seen people be kind to each other. I seen people talk to each other. I seen young, what they want to call black, I seen white people. I seen people talking to each other. I seen people having young people in their 20s owning things, owning businesses. And it was I seen people of other descents besides being white, you know, having a management position. And it was mind blowing because that's something that I've never seen here. I've never seen it. You only see someone of color or someone, a Chinese person or African or Spanish or anything like that, only time they had management position would be at like a McDonald's or something. But you go into any other of these places, you wouldn't see it. But when I started to move and relocate from where I was my comfortability zone and started to see the world for what it is, in Maryland, started seeing a whole different culture. Went to Florida, started seeing a whole different culture. Went to California, seeing a whole different culture. Visiting New York, I'm like, wow, this is like, it was a culture shock because I'd never seen it. So I can say firsthand that it was because of what I've seen and what I've heard. And me and the host are strong believers in, you can't just believe anything you hear. You got to fact check it. You know what I mean? Like, it's facts over feelings. You know what I mean? I feel that you're lying, but do I know? I feel that you might do me wrong, but do I know? I sat down with a police officer one day. He was in Eden Park. I sat down at his table. And he looked confused. I said, I got a question. I was like, what's going on? I said, when you signed up for this job as a police officer, did you think it through coming from I'm not sure where you're from. Where are you from? You told me you're from, which is a predominantly upper class neighborhood. I said, did you ever expect to work in a lower class status neighborhood? He said, yes. He said, I always wanted to fix it. He said, when I was younger, I always thought, why can't they live like us? It was just mind blowing to understand it. And he was like, that's why I work in, your neighborhoods and stuff like that. And it was like, because I don't understand why we all can't be one. I never understood it. I was like, so how do you feel when we look at you, or when I say we, I was talking about the people who in a lower poverty. How do you feel when we look at you with anger and resentment when you come around? He said, honestly, I feel fearful. And at that moment, we kind of just paused, because at that moment, if we didn't have nothing in common, we had one thing. He was fearful of me, and I was fearful of him. You see what I'm saying? He's seen me for who I was, and I seen him for who he was. You know what I mean? And he was like, be honest, man. He's like, what can I do to get through? I said, it's patience and time. We can want a lot of things. Like you said a long time ago about Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King's not here to see the fruits of his labor. But it occurred. I think sometimes that a lot of these nonprofit organizations and stuff like that, they get on its high horse and they get this full steam ahead, like, yeah, we're gonna make a change, we're gonna make a change. But when it doesn't come in their time, they lose the confidence, they lose the momentum, and they start to like, well, let's pull back. Well, this happened, pull back. And that's when they just become another number of that 800,000 and another profit. You know what I mean? Because they get discouraged. Spirituality happens in our bonds that we make with one another. It happens, it occurs. I think moving on as an answer to find a solution would be to actually, let's make a challenge to sit there and, okay, I'm gonna sit down with someone random today. In part, or not even that. Even if I got a little tip, I got a little $5 in my pocket. Here, put that 5 on their table. Or something simple like that. I got their tip.
I'll make this real quick. Or you can join. We have a website that I spent a long time building. I'm going to be building. I'm going to actually be building an app. For those who don't know, I am in software development and application development. Right. So we have is a website. Currently, we have forums and groups. Join those and make it your business to become a friend with someone. Become a friend with someone who's not like you. Go on there. find, we only have about 35 people in here right now, but the goal is to expand that, but go on there, meet someone who is, from another race of yours. And even honestly, even if you're racist, I encourage racists to come on there. You can control yourself because a lot of racists have jobs with black people. So you know how, you got, so I encourage you to come on, or what do I think? Why did I say as if only white people are racist? All right, racist in general. If you're racist towards any race, come on to the app, meet someone who is of a culture that you don't really understand, that you understand in yourself, you have a bias toward, and talk to them, get to know them, get to see what they like, get to know more about their culture, and then see how similar you truly are. I really love that idea, Yaru. And because you are an affiliate of We Have Us, you and I are going to be working together to implement that. Even if we have to spend some time in building that out into the current website, that is definitely something I appreciate. That was an amazing, amazing advice, because now we're in this virtual world. And then set up one-on-ones, not in a group setting with a whole lot of people where you can get whatever the case may be. We want to minimize negative energy. Also, We Have Us is not like other social media websites. We are absolutely, positively not tolerating any form of hate at all. If you come on there with the mess, we're deleting it. You don't get a first chance. You don't get a second chance. You get a no chance. If you come on there, because at the end of the day, I don't care about the money. So I'm not going to just let anybody be on there. I have a responsibility as a developer to not only provide a product to the world, but also to provide a safe environment and to protect other people's energy. If you come on the app, when it becomes an app, right now it's a website. We do obviously so you can render on your mobile device. If you come on there with any form of hate, I don't care if you are racist, you better learn how to keep it quiet. Okay? If you come on there with any form of it, I'm blocking it, deleting it, period. Yes,
to be honest, and then I'm because I know Miss Alicia. Amen. So I don't want to take too much time. So here's just to conclude. I think honestly that this day and age, the ones that are growing up now, the teenagers and stuff like that, I don't think that they realize. I think that they know, but they don't. I think they think they have they have some sort of inclination because of what they've read or what they see, but I don't think that they fully have the overstanding or understanding. They can never understand it, but overstanding of racism in general, because it's being, to be honest, it's really being bled out. You know what I mean? It's pretty much being like kind of done away with. Like, you know what I mean? Everyone's kind of now seeing like there's more and more children going to college. There's more and more people that you're seeing that are integrating and having relationships. You're seeing a lot more mix with other people. You're seeing a lot of it, to be honest. And it's just astonishing because when I was growing up, you never seen that. I never, when in my city, especially my city, no, everyone was sectioned off. So it was like nobody really interacted with no one. Like, you know what I mean? Until I started getting into like social media apps, I never talked to people who are in the LGBTQ community because they have never exposed around me. Never talked to any Europeans. Never talked to anybody of Chinese. Never, because everyone was sectioned off. Everyone stayed in their section. But now these kids are growing up, they're like starting to mix and have this type of friend and that type of friend. It's pretty cool. You know what I mean? It really is pretty cool. I think it's not nowadays. I feel like it's more or less just of what's been told, more or less of what they know, because that is not really being more or less experienced as it used to be. Especially back in anything before the 90s and 80s. You know what I mean? I feel like we're definitely making a breakaway and making a better stance. However, like I said, the media in general is like trying to make a force to be reckoned. Like even when I listen to some of the R&B music and some of the other like music and stuff that's coming out now, it's a lot of J. Cole's coming out. There's a lot of different a lot of different people's coming out with a lot of different energy, and it's crazy because it's never been seen, to be honest. You know what I mean? And I feel this to end it. I feel like I feel like this Corona was needed, not for the deaths, but however, just needed for people to sit down and look in the mirror. Yeah. There's so many people. I mean, even if there's people on this app and those who might be broadcast on Facebook, how many of us have literally took the time to literally sit there and look in the mirror? Yeah. A lot of people can't look in the mirror. A lot of people are scared to look at what they've really become. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is a time where you've never seen it, like so many young people coming out with businesses. Even if, and I told my sister, she was like, I'm thinking about doing this type of business.
I just want not to cut you off.
Okay. Say it again.
Not to cut you off, but Evelyn's hands up.
Oh yeah. So like I said, I see a lot of people making businesses, and it's great. At least they're trying. So I feel like we're definitely breaking away, but that challenge is something that I definitely will start doing. Might even record it. It might just, hey, I might even do something funny, like pull out a dog, like, watch this, y'all. I might be like, break the barrier challenge. I got your tip. We love you. And walk away.
Yeah. Okay, Evelyn.
But yeah, that's it.
We're gonna talk back on that too. Yeah.
I just wanted to
go ahead.
To bounce off what Johnny said about people being born pure, and that racism starts with, I think it starts in the home. You know, it starts with upbringing and the people you surround. Be right back.
Okay.
And let me take my
other way. Okay, we can read back.
Okay, so I'm just want to tell another experience I had with when I was in a clinic and I wanted to go to the bathroom. The door was locked, so one of the employees at the window, she saw me and she says, "Knock on the door," because maybe somebody locked it from the inside. So I'm knocking on the door and I hear an old woman's voice saying, "Ah," like that. And she eventually comes out, and it's one of those bathrooms where there's 3 stalls. So we're not supposed to lock the main door. Yeah. But I guess she wanted her total privacy. So she comes out, she says, she saw me right away. She says, "Go back where you came from." It was an elderly white woman. It must have been in her 80s, like hunched over, like, you know, maybe it's the way she was raised when she was a child. All that hatred just stayed with her. And that's not the first time I heard that, "Go back where you came from." So it's kind of disgusting that.
Don't you ever wonder, when people say that if every individual in this country went back to where they're natively from, America would fall? I mean, don't you do people actually think about that when they have that as their answer to the problem? Because every group of people, we know that individually, we have individuals of all communities who are the stereotype, right? We know that. We know that there are some people in every race who literally are the stereotype. But if everyone went back to where they came from, do you know how fast America would fall? Well,
it would just be the Native Americans, because they were here for centuries.
Right, you're right about that.
And then they got pushed to the reservations when the Pilgrims came over.
That is
because, you know, I guess a certain kind of people think that they belong to America, and everybody else are outsiders. You know what I mean? Like, and then even after World War II, the Japanese got thrown in internment camps. You know, It doesn't end.
You're right about that. You know, I don't even think I've even
Yeah.
processed that.
But
Even
yeah, the Native Americans were here.
they would. That's
They
right.
were living
All,
here.
everybody went back to where they came from. It probably would flourish because they'll have their land back, and I'm sure they would do
Yeah.
some wonderful
That's
things.
why, yeah, sometimes I go on these, I've been doing a lot of Zoom webinars,
Mhm.
and I noticed a lot of those, are like in the Western coast or the Northwestern coast where there's more, I guess, the Native Americans. They always do, before they start the webinar, they always do some sort of like land acknowledgement, that's what they call, where they recognize that the indigenous people belong to this land first.
Can you share that? I mean, I would love.
It's called land acknowledgement. I never heard of it before I started these webinars, but that's what they do. I notice it's mostly in the northwestern states and the northern states and Canada.
You know, Evelyn, I thank you so much for that because that just goes back to it. See, Evelyn, you're doing what you should be doing because you're going to these different. I'm gonna start doing that. Thank you so much for even mentioning that. Maybe you. I believe in, like I said, Yahweh is good. Everything is divine and in divine order. I've been asking, how can I do more? And exactly that. I can start going to these different webinars with these other groups of people so I can have a better understanding for them and their culture and have a better appreciation for it, for their culture. I like to consider myself very cultured because I am a Nigerian American, but I want to expand that. I want to expand what I understand because, like I said, why would our Creator create all of these different people if He didn't want us to, appreciate all of the different things that we can bring, that we bring together, that we bring, that we can bring forward together. I don't know, like if you've ever been to a potluck before. And it was like a culture potluck. When I was in elementary school, we used to do around the world, and everyone would bring a dish from their native place. And it was such a beautiful thing because you get a chance to taste all the different food that people have. I'm a food person, y'all. I'm a food. So you got a chance to taste all the different foods that all of our fellow students, culture that come from their culture. These are things we should actually be doing. I guarantee that if we would do more of that, we wouldn't be where they are. I have found that a lot of my friends who are my Caucasian friends who are well traveled, they don't even have an ounce of racism in them. They don't. Because when you start, that's why I think world travel is also important. And if we can't travel through the world, do what Evelyn is doing and just go hop into these different Zoom sessions. But my I have friends who say little things, and I know they don't mean it. My white friends who say little things. Crazy enough, I had this lady at my job. I just started in this particular department. I just moved to that department, and she was supposed to be like my mentor or my trainer or something like that. And to this day, it still bothers me. I haven't even told my manager about it, but I'm going to talk about it because I just feel like it's important because maybe people don't even understand how offensive they can be. She said something to me, which I took it very offensive. I didn't even tell her that I took it offensive. That goes again with people keeping things silent. And I don't know why, because I'm very a boisterous person. I don't know why. Maybe it's still trying to process it, but she said to me, "Oh yeah, you'll be like my little puppy." Like, who tells a person that in a corporate environment that you're gonna be my little puppy? I'm a grown woman. I'm 31 with a little daughter. Why would she think? And I'm sorry, these are some of the things that I believe that sometimes people just don't even think about. Why would you call a person? And obviously, because of the nature of how, just being a African American woman, I immediately associated that with some type of like internal like superiority complex to be able to tell me, because I wonder if she would say that to a white woman who was 31. Oh yeah, you'll be my little puppy. Like, that's not okay. And so I think that we have to, it's important for us to like get in these meetings and talk to people. And maybe one day she'll hop in a meeting and she'll learn that you're not supposed to tell another employee that, yeah, you could be my little puppy. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. We do need to have like more cultural training. Like like no, we're not. Somebody told me something about this new thing where people get upset or overly sensitive. It's not about being overly sensitive. It's just about understanding. And so it's not that's not what where I want to really focus on. But it's just really like get to know people, talk to people, and understand what's right and what's wrong, and understand where you may actually have a superiority complex. So like I was saying, my friends who are well traveled, they don't talk like that. You know what I'm saying? Like who visited other places other than places in Europe. Okay, who visited other regions other than regions of Europe. Okay, they don't they would I would never hear them even say that because like in internally they would just know that that could just be offensive because that could just be offensive. So I don't know. Alicia, what do you want? Hey, girl, what do you want to say about hate and breaking hate? And, maybe if you want to even share some of your own experiences. We have about 15 minutes before we're finished. And so I would love to hear from you.
In regards to breaking hate, it's just be open and willing to listen to people, and not being judgmental. A lot of people go through a lot of different things, and people will be more willing to open up, to you if you don't spew out the hate and judge somebody. Nobody's on this earth is perfect, and when you sharing yourself, a person is more willing to share their self, knowing that person that they're sharing themselves with is not side eyeing and looking a certain type of way. So, I have been a victim of hate, and it doesn't feel good. So I feel like we're supposed to be here to support and help each other, and that's not being supportive nor helping. That's you don't know what you could make that person. They might hurt themselves. So we're here to be a blessing to people.
I mean, because we have to do better as a society. We have to make ourselves more aware. That's why I said, like, sometimes just having these conversations, I'm going to mention two things, and then if anybody want to share, then do. If not, then we can go. One thing is, I've been fortunate, to not have experienced so much hate in my life. I just have to be honest. Even though I got lots, I've just been fortunate. Because again, like I said, I believe in the law of attraction too. Like, and not to say that that it's your fault, but if you have been a receiver of hate, but I've just been fortunate enough not to experience those things quite, as much as maybe some other people have, but I have had an experience more recently. Actually, recently, I don't remember ever in my life as a child having any type of hate towards me. I can honestly say that. Even when I've been the only Black person around, I've not experienced that. Just haven't. But I have experienced it in my home buying experience. And I'm currently going through a case with him. When I tell you, the underwriter for my current mortgage company who I have a mortgage with, I mean, I just couldn't believe what was going on. And it was so crazy that which I have documented in a text message, that even my loan officer mentioned that he also believes that I was being a victim of racial discrimination, and that the manager over the underwriter also, or not the manager, but individual who represented the loan company also mentioned that he also believed that what was happening was racial discrimination. They said that they have never, in the 20 years of them closing loans, experienced anything like that. You know, because my name, if you read my name on paper, it says Chioma Azubike, so you automatically know I'm damn sure not white. Okay? And I'm probably not American. Crazy enough, though, I am American. I was born in the United States. You know what I'm saying? But you don't know that. But that's what your hate does. But see, they got the right one and the wrong one. Okay? Because what they thought was that I was just going to be happy that they closed my loan. No, that's not enough for me because see, they don't know that I'm an advocate for people of the oppressed. That's why you better be careful who you are. You best to be careful because I am a child of the Most High and he will never let anyone transgress against me. He will never let anyone transgress against me without answering for it. Every single person in my life who has transgressed against me have answered for it. And yes, that individual who did will answer for it. And I don't have to do anything and I don't have to hate him. I don't hate him. I forgive him. I do forgive him, but he will answer for what he did. He will answer for what he put me and my family through. He will answer for it. And I believe that. Whether or not he answers for it in court or if he answers for it in his spirit, he will answer for that. So that's one thing. Another thing I wanted to mention is I had a kind of a conversation like this one time, and a racist white man came in. He was actually very respectful in the conversation. He was basically, I asked him, why are you racist? He didn't have his face covered and everything. And I asked him, so why are you racist? Basically, he basically said that he has all of these things because he's fearful. He said, I'm afraid. And if you could actually feel like I'm a person, I feel things. I feel things. I feel people's emotions through screens. If I see a person, I can literally feel their life. I can feel their pain. This is real. Like I don't know. People call it empath. I don't believe in labels. I believe that when you create labels, it gives you an opportunity to make yourself bigger than a person. I'm not bigger than anyone. I'm just tapped into things that other people have been too fearful to tap into. But I can feel people and I can feel people's emotions and I can feel them. And when I tell you this man was not lying, it was just fear emitting through him. He was fearful because he of the narrative that society has painted black individuals. He was fear and Hispanic. He was fearful and it was genuinely fear. And we started talking about this Jim Crow book. And it makes a lot of sense though, because and remember how I said that a person is not naturally hateful. A lot of fear has to be deposited into someone for them to forget or erase the fact that a person is a person. That all you see when you see this person is something that I hate, something I'm supposed to hate. So the Jim Crow book not only taught masters how to keep slaves in check, in order for the master to even have that in them to want to be a slave, they had to put some level of fear. Fear of if you don't beat the slave gonna run away. And if the slave run away, you're not gonna be able to farm your land. If you don't farm your land, then you're not gonna be able to feed your family. So then we fast forward and now those same Jim Crow ideas have been also instilled in our quote unquote superior population because now they're into self-preservation mode. That if they even give us just a little bit of inkling, fear of us rising above and taking everything, you know? So it's just this constant thing of fear that's put in them and also fear that's put into us, fear in them to hate us, and fear in us not to let them keep hurting us. So we have to find a way to stop the hate on both ends. Like, stop retaliating with hate and understand what your fears are. Honestly, if you're a white person and you don't like black or white people, everybody should take a critical thinking course. Why? Why do you why don't what stereotypes have been instilled in you, ingrained in you to make you feel that your life is threatened just by the presence of a black person? What is it? So those are things that I definitely think we need to talk about. Like I said, it was such a powerful thing. And one thing I asked this white man, I said, well, what do you want, man? Where do you want us to go? That's what I asked him. The racist man, actually, I really appreciate him. I think we kind of was friends at the end of it, to be honest. I think we was a little bit of friends at the end. I asked him, I said, well, where do you want us to go? Where are we going to go? What do you want? What do you want us to do? I said, what, and you're in an ideal world for you, what do you think is the solution? I actually think he had quite a good solution. He said, well, I don't know if we're ever going to get past this because, for some reason we just can't see eye to eye. We just can't see eye to eye. So how about, you know, people who are the same, they stay together, and people who are not the same, they stay together. And then we create a section in the United States for everybody who just wants to get along, who have agreed together that they're going to get along with the differences, and they just stay together. I don't know if that's such a bad solution. If you just are stuck in your head, just create your own community where it's just you guys. And then let a part of the world, a part of the United States where people are truly able to not hate each other, come together and live peacefully in harmony. But if we don't do it, I'm gonna bring in my spirituality. Revelations, I believe Revelations is unfolding in front of our eyes. So we have a creator who's gonna do that, and I truly believe that very soon when he returns, that those who want to live peacefully, we will live peacefully in the kingdom. And those who just cannot get it together, they're gonna be left to fend for themselves and figure out what they're gonna do next. But until then, we have us is going to continue to push the narrative. It's not about you believe in the same God I believe in and this, that, and that. We're going to continue to push the same narrative of love because love conquers all. This organization, that is what we believe in wholeheartedly. Love conquers all. We have us, we're doing things in the community. If you are interested in volunteer opportunities, you can join us www.wehave-us.com. We are definitely looking to expand this movement into other areas of the United States, even if it is just these meetup conversations where someone is if someone is the ambassador of these types of conversations and continue these conversations. We have a food program here in Atlanta that's going to be launching in June. We have clean the community, so we also go around and clean the community. I'm offering tutoring to parents. I think it's very important that we empower parents through education. A lot of people who live in impoverished communities, and I encourage other nonprofits and other individuals to do this as well. A lot of people who live in impoverished communities are unable to get the help that they need for their students. Even though schools may offer help, parents do not feel confident enough to to get those resources. So if they're not going to go there, then offer tutoring. So I'm offering tutoring to parents. I'm very great at advanced and basic algebra. That's currently what I am offering. So if you're a parent and you need and you would like tutoring in advanced and basic algebra, I'm offering my services as well. I'm also looking for women who code. That's the next program that we're working on. Like I said, I'm a woman. I code, but I am looking to connect with other women who code so that we can, give women the tools that they need to become progressive in this society, because this society is becoming a technology-based society. And if you do not have skills in technology, I don't. It's going to be very hard for you to adapt to the change that the world is moving towards. So it's very important for you to kind of strengthen your skills in technology. Um, and I have an organization, Brand New Day. I like to shout out nonprofits whenever I have these. There's a nonprofit, Brand New Day. Aretha Asbury was on here earlier. Brand New Day is an organization located here in Atlanta, and they do a lot for the children. They have a program where they teach you how to shop. So if you want to learn how to shop on a budget, she takes children, she gives them $20. She teaches them how to shop with $20, and she teaches them life skills, teaches them how to write cursive writing, because everybody needs to sign their signature at least once in their life. So she's teaching children basic survival skills, how to wash their clothes. People are going to college, how to be self-sufficient. The name of her nonprofit is Brand New Day, offering housing assistance, rental assistance, clothing if you need clothing, So that is a partner organization. I'm also looking to partner with other nonprofits so that we can again expand our reach and our ability to provide resources to communities. Um, if you are a representative of the Asian community, I would love for you to reach out to me and find out what We Have Us can do to support your movement, or support whatever it is that you're doing, even if you need us to help march with you, hold up some signs, whatever the case may be, because anytime we're there, it's from the heart. So again, I appreciate every single person for coming, and joining in on this conversation. Just to wrap up, what I took from this and what We Have Us, because again, every time we have these, we want to tell the community and we want you guys to hold us accountable for this. What are we going to do as We Have Us? Well, I'm going to again make sure everyone who's a part of this organization takes the bystander training. Not only are we going to ensure that individuals are taking bystander training, we're also going to work on how we can actually implement this idea of the coffee breaks. And that's probably, I think I just came up with that just now. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Okay, for the coffee break. So little coffee breaks, meetups where, you and somebody from another culture just sit down and talk about things, even if you have to write out a list of questions for you guys to ask each other. So that's something that we're going to be working on for the community, and also advocating for employers to have bystander training offered for their employees, and also this Your Love Challenge. So these are the things that we're working on. And again, thank you guys so much for your time. Does anyone want to say anything before we move?
I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you heard about in the news about Dr. Seuss.
Yes.
Captain Underpants.
Mm-hmm. No, not Captain Underpants.
Yeah, him too, because he made some anti-Asian kind of thing in one of his books. But the Dr. Seuss, when I heard that in the news and then I Googled it, I was like, I couldn't believe that these books are like older than me, and then now they're banning it. Like all these decades, they didn't ban his books and his artwork, because he did some artwork too, and I guess newspapers, some comic strips. Yeah, if you Google it, you're gonna see it. It's mostly targeted towards Black people, Asian people, and Middle Eastern people. If you see the cartoon caricatures that he drew, it's so disgusting.
I think that's what it is. We're waking up. When you wake up, you start to see things. Have you ever? I can just use me as an example. When I went to go get the car that I have now, I wanted a Charger. That's the kind of car I wanted. And when I got the Charger, it wasn't until after I got the Charger that I kept seeing everybody with Chargers. So it's like when you wake up to the idea of racism, that it actually is here and that it actually does exist, you start seeing it everywhere. And I think we just have to be more diligent, and not being afraid that people are going to be like, oh, you guys are being so overly sensitive. No, it's not that we're being overly sensitive, we're protecting our children. Because when we dismiss it, then people become desensitized to the idea that it exists, and then it continues to be able to grow and grow and grow and stay. So no, we do not need to stop. We have to keep pointing it out. We don't need to be fearful or worried about what someone is going to say. Oh my God, just block. Somebody called it something the other day. I don't know about all the social media terms anymore, but they called it something like just something. I want to hurry up and block, or people are so quick to block people. Yes, that's right. Get over it. If it bothers you, get over it. Don't do it. If you didn't do it, somebody wouldn't have anything to say. So I thank you for that, Evelyn. That's something that we need to keep pushing. We need to start reading the books that our children are getting in class. Like if parents should be more involved in that. Look at the curriculum. Look at the book assignment, and you read it before your child reads it. You'll see if you want your child to read that. And even if your child has to read it, explain it to your child before they get to it, and then they are left to develop their own opinion. Whenever my daughter watches something, especially Disney, because you have to be very careful with Disney, because Disney has had its own things where even the Pocahontas movie, that's the reason why They did not turn the Pocahontas into a real life event because you know they've been turning all of their old movies into live movies. They didn't turn it into a live movie because it was very offensive. That's why they didn't turn them because everybody was asking why didn't they do Pocahontas? Well, that was the reason why. So when your children, be careful to let your children watch any movie that comes out on Disney or anything or any show. I watch the first few episodes first before I let my daughter watch it, and then so that I can position to her what this means, so I can explain to her what this means. She's 4, so I can explain it to her so that she doesn't develop again this a bias that she's unaware of or whatever the case may be. There was a time where she thought anyone who wasn't black was white. I'm like, no, that person's not white. That's a Spanish person, you know? So those are things that we have to be mindful of. We can't let the education system raise our children. We can't. We have to be more involved with developing the curriculum because who actually creates the curriculum? They have parent liaisons who go up there and are supposed to be helping with understanding what our children are learning. So be more involved with what your children are learning and what the school is teaching your children. And if you can now, you can have your child on homeschool. If you don't like what your children are learning, you can actually homeschool your children online and everybody's stuck at home anyway. So just homeschool your children, you know, if you don't like what the curriculum is on. But I appreciate that about the Dr. Seuss thing, and that's going to help me be more mindful. My daughter goes to a Christian school, and so they give us their curriculum even before school even starts. So that's a good thing, you know. And I know not everybody has that luxury because you do pay for her to go to school, but it's something that I would encourage parents if you can get a syllabus for when your child brings home their syllabus, go over their syllabus with them. Don't just leave them to go over it on their own. So yeah, Alicia, do you have anything you want to share before we leave? Alicia Walker. You have anything you want to share?
I love you. That's it.
I love you too. I love you too. And I love you, Evelyn. I know you don't know me, but I know you now. I love you. I thank you so much for joining. We will be sending out information on what our next Real Talk is about.
Um,
We'll send that out. Yes,
if you need a secretary or an assistant, you know,
okay, definitely I
my
will.
offer still stands. I never took.
Okay, I appreciate that, sister. I do. I will definitely be talking to you. I am looking for a content developer. So if you know anyone who is well written, I am looking for a content developer for We Have Us. So if you are well written, Alicia, I definitely will speak with you because I do need someone to help me with the content. It's not that I can't write, because that's actually what I do at my job. I'm an instructional designer. Actually. But it's like honestly, people don't even understand what it's like when you have to write content like all day and then like you spell check and it don't matter how well written you are. Honey, I don't know how many ads that I'm posted. I had subject verb agreement, but you know what? I believe in realness. And this is a part of my growth. I don't beat myself up about things that go wrong. You know, that's other people that try to condemn you for the wrong that you did. Let me tell you something. I don't care. I
Exactly.
understand that this is a part of my growth. So anything that I say now that I may not agree with later, I'm not going to let anybody condemn me for anything that I've said in the past or anything that I said now. Let people know that now. Whatever you try to do, it's not going to make me feel condemned because I actually internally am a person who actually loves criticism because criticism helps me become better. So I love the criticism. I do. I do not. I'm not going to fight with you or argue with you about what I'm saying. I love the criticism. I definitely want to make this again very inviting. I'm not trying to be extra professional and do things the way you would see it on TV or whatever the case may be. I really want this to be a real talk. This is why it's called Real Talk. I want this to be a real thing. This is how real people have conversations. This is what real people do. This is
Yeah.
what this is trying to create. So I appreciate everyone for joining, and I'll let you guys know if you are subscribed to the website. I will be sending out correspondence with the next conversation is going to be. We are doing the community event. We're going to go out into the project. We're going to find some projects in Atlanta to go to. to, again, let people know that we're there and we love you and that if you need our help, we're here. So again, thank you everybody. I appreciate it. Blessings to everyone. I hope y'all have a great day. Remember, we have us, all of us. We all have us. Yes.
Yes.
Bye bye.
All right. Love you. Good night.
Okay.